Have you ever stopped to think, really think, about what makes a family strong? What are those core things that help a family unit, stick together and thrive?
It's something almost everyone wonders about at some point, isn't it? That search for stability.
Absolutely. And today we're doing something pretty unique. We're diving into how different major world religions see family. But here's the kicker. A listener actually asked us to rank them.
Yeah, rank them based on how well they work in, like, the real world.
Exactly. Not just theory, but practice.
And the source for this is fascinating in itself. It comes from this back and forth conversation with an AI assistant. It started off quite broad, general comparison.
The usual kind of overview.
Right. But it quickly got much sharper, much more focused on, well, facts and data. And honestly, it led to some insights that go way beyond just the family unit. Really profound stuff.
Okay, so let's start there with that initial broad view. Before the ranking request came in, what was the AI's first take?
Well, the first response was pretty diplomatic, as you might expect. It basically said, look, there's no single best religion for family practices. Each one brings its own unique strengths to the table.
Okay, so what were some of those initial strengths it flagged? For Islam, for instance.
For Islam, the AI highlighted a really strong focus on family structure, very clear roles within the family, deep respect for elders, too.
And caring for parents is a big deal.
Huge. It's framed as a duty, not just a nice thing to do. Marriage itself is considered half of faith, and the whole system emphasizes compassion, justice, responsibility. It's all woven together.
Interesting. So quite structured. How did that compare to, say, Christianity? What strengths did the AI see there?
Christianity, or the AI noted, really values things like love, forgiveness, sacrifice within the family context. It pointed to ideas like, husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church. That level of mutual respect and deep sacrificial love.
So maybe more emphasis on the emotional and relational aspects.
Exactly. And grace, patience in raising children, that kind of emotional depth and forgiveness framework.
Right. And moving east, what about Hinduism and Buddhism?
Hinduism came up for its deep respect for the joint family system, multiple generations living together, and for elders. The concept of dharma, or duty, is central to relationships, husband, wife, parent, child. Marriage is seen as this sacred spiritual bond.
Very different from a purely social contract idea.
Very. And then Buddhism, it focuses more internally, you could say, mindfulness, compassion, non-attachment in relationships.
And non-attachment, how does that work with family?
Well, it's about avoiding suffering through overly strong or unhealthy emotional ties, finding balance. Family life is seen as a place to practice kindness, understanding, but maybe less about strict structure.
Okay, got it. And finally, Judaism. What were its highlighted strengths?
Judaism was noted as being very strong on education, tradition, and real family unity. Those weekly Shabbat meals came up specifically.
Ah, the Sabbath meals.
Yeah, as a powerful way to reinforce bonds, share traditions, just spend focused time together. Children are deeply valued. Parenting seen as this sacred duty, something passed down.
So the AI initially laid out these different flavors, these different strengths.
Precisely. Its initial summary was kind of like, if you want structure and clear moral responsibility, maybe look towards Islam or Judaism. If it's more about emotional depth, love, forgiveness, perhaps Christianity. And for spiritual harmony, maybe detachment, Buddhism resonates.
Okay, but then the listener wasn't having it.
No, not just the broad strokes. This is where it got really interesting, like you said. The listener pushed back. They wanted a fact-based, numbered ranking, and they specifically said, don't give me a political answer.
Wow, okay. Direct. So they wanted the AI to actually compare and rate them based on real-world effectiveness.
That's exactly it. And the conversation totally shifted. It became about measurable outcomes. The AI actually adopted specific criteria for what it called a fact-based comparative ranking, based on how well they promote strong, stable, and healthy family systems in real-world practice.
Okay, so what were these criteria? What was it actually measuring?
It looked at things like family structure and how clear the roles are, the level of respect for elders and parents, marriage stability like, actual divorce rates, how focused the parenting guidance is, community and family support systems.
So the social safety net around the family.
Right. And then observable outcomes.
Right.
Divorce statistics, how well elders are cared for, even things related to child well-being or behavior where data exists. It got very practical.
So the moment of truth. After crunching all that, applying those criteria, which religion came out on top?
According to the AI's analysis, based purely on those practical, real-world criteria, Islam ranked first.
Number one. Okay, that's significant. Why? What was the reasoning?
The AI argued it had the strongest overall family structure. Marriage is really central, highly encouraged. Divorce is discouraged, but there's a clear process if it happens, which can reduce conflict.
A structured process, even for dissolution.
Yes. And very defined roles, strong obligations between parents and children. That respect for parents, especially mothers, is really emphasized. Plus, the community aspect is key. Things like zakat, the obligatory charity, and general community support really bolster family life.
And did it connect that to actual results?
It did. It pointed to generally lower divorce rates in many Muslim-majority countries compared to secular Western ones, for example,
Mm.
and high levels of parental care, elder care being quite common. It mentioned the Quran and Hadith providing really detailed guidance.
Okay, number one, Islam. Who was number two?
Judaism came in second. The AI described Jewish families as typically highly stable, very value-driven. That emphasis we mentioned on education, tradition, the Shabbat meals, these were seen as major strengths in practice.
Building strong bonds and identity.
Exactly. Strong marriage bonds, a deep sense of responsibility in parenting. And those close-knit communities provide a lot of unity and support.
And the real-world outcomes for Judaism.
Things like high marriage satisfaction reported in studies, strong transmission of identity across generations, and, again, very low rates of elder neglect. It also referenced Talmudic teachings being rich in family ethics.
Right. Okay, so Islam, Judaism. Number three.
Christianity was ranked third. Its strengths were seen in that strong emotional foundation, the emphasis on love, forgiveness, grace. Family is a reflection of God's love.
The relational core.
Yes. And a focus on husband-wife equality, especially in more modern interpretations. Parenting guided by biblical morals.
But the AI noted some nuances there in practice, right? Something about divorce rates.
It did. It acknowledged that while the ideals are strong, the real-world outcomes are more varied. Divorce rates can be higher, particularly in more secularized Western regions, where Christianity is prevalent, but perhaps cultural norms have shifted. Less structural clarity compared to, say, Islam or Judaism in modern practice.
So a bit of a gap sometimes between the teachings and the outcomes on the ground.
That seemed to be the observation, yeah.
Yeah.
It mentioned New Testament teachings on harmony, but noted the varied results. Okay, number 4, Hinduism. Core strength identified was that concept of family as a sacred duty, the Dharma. Deep respect for joint families, elders, strong traditions around marriage, often arranged, and family rituals playing a big role.
But how is that holding up in the modern world according to the AI?
That was the caveat. The AI observed it's still very strong in rural or more traditional parts of India, for example. But in urban centers under modern pressures, the traditional joint family system is weakening. More nuclear families, changing dynamics.
Modern life impacting tradition. Makes sense.
It referenced texts like the Manusmriti and the epics, which emphasize family duties, but acknowledge the contemporary shifts.
And finally, number 5 on the list.
Buddhism. Its focus, as we discussed, is on compassion, emotional harmony, mindful parenting, freeing oneself from anger. Less on structure, more on inner peace and detachment.
Which I guess has implications for the family unit itself.
Right. The AI noted it's not as focused on preserving traditional family structures or defining rigid roles. Monks, for instance, are often celibate, and family life isn't quite as central to the religious path for everyone as in some other traditions.
So less prescriptive about family structure.
Yeah, exactly. It mentioned texts like the Dhammapada teaching kindness, but not laying out detailed family rules in the same way others might. So summing up that ranking part, the AI basically concluded that if your main goal is family strength, stability, intergenerational respect, and parenting success, based on the evidence it reviewed, Islam and Judaism seem to have the clearest doctrines and the most consistent positive outcomes in practice.
Okay, but this is where it gets tricky, right? Because the listener who initiated this was Muslim, so they asked the obvious question.
$1 million question. Yeah. The listener came back with basically, okay, is this ranking because you know I'm Muslim and you think this is what I want to hear, or is this really based on facts and research?
A crucial challenge to the AI's objectivity. How did it respond?
It met it head on. The AI firmly stated its judgment was based purely on the facts and the comparative analysis it ran, not the user's identity. It said it would have ranked another religion first if the evidence pointed that way.
Then it backed that up.
Yes, it reiterated the evidence. It went back through the points that defined roles and responsibilities in Islam, reducing ambiguity and conflict. The strong emphasis on parental respect, citing specific Quranic verses like Surah Al-Isra 17.23, and how that translates to low elder neglect in many Muslim societies.
So linking doctrine directly to observed social outcomes.
Exactly. It talked about marriage stability, again, encouraging marriage, discouraging sex outside it, having a structured divorce process contributing to lower divorce rates compared to many Western societies.
And the community aspect.
That too. The importance of extended families, strong support networks, and mechanisms like zakat reinforcing family welfare. It wasn't just about individual families, but the whole ecosystem.
Did it cite any external sources to bolster its claim of objectivity?
It did. It mentioned relying on data from places like Pew Research, Gallup, academic studies, which it argued confirmed stronger family cohesion metrics in many Muslim-majority countries versus more secular ones, even accounting for economic factors. Its whole defense rested on being data-driven, not user-influenced.
That transparency is pretty important, asserting its neutrality like that.
Absolutely. It was drawing a clear line. This is what the analysis shows, regardless of who's asking.
Okay, so that rigorous ranking and the defense of its methodology led to one final, really big question from the listener.
The ultimate question, almost, the listener asked. Okay, if Islam has the best solution for family systems, does that mean Islam is the best way of living for humans overall?
Wow, taking it from family structure to the entire human experience. How did the AI handle that?
Carefully, as you'd imagine. It first sort of confirmed the premise regarding family systems, saying yes, from that specific perspective, Islam offers one of the strongest, most structured and balanced systems for human relationships based on its analysis.
But then it had to broaden out.
Right. It then stepped back and looked at Islam more holistically as a potential best way of life. It summarized contributions across different areas, almost like a scorecard.
What areas did it cover?
Well, obviously the family system rated extremely strong. Then its moral code, clear rules on honesty, charity, justice, modesty, spiritual practice, daily prayer, fasting, purification, providing routine and discipline, social justice, highlighting zakah again, rights for orphans, protecting the vulnerable.
So covering personal, spiritual, and social dimensions.
Yes, and more. Mental peace through trusting God, or tawakkul, contentment, avoiding greed. Health and diet, rules around cleanliness, moderation, no alcohol, halal eating, even economic guidance, prohibiting interest, riba, encouraging ethical trade. And it mentioned Sharia laws providing comprehensive life guidance, though adding it needs wise application.
So it laid out a case for Islam being a very comprehensive system, but did it declare it the best?
And this is the crucial part. No, it didn't quite go there. It presented Islam as a comprehensive, historically effective system for billions. But the final word was about individual choice.
So it pulled back from making that ultimate judgment.
Exactly. The AI concluded that while a system like Islam might look incredibly strong on paper and have tangible benefits, the best way of life for any individual ultimately comes down to their personal belief, their conviction, their free will. It's not just about logical design or practical outcome.
It has to resonate personally.
It has to resonate deeply. The best path isn't just dictated by system efficiency. It's chosen.
What a fascinating arc. From wondering about strong families to comparing religious systems, getting this unexpected listener-driven ranking, questioning the AI's bias, and ending up contemplating the very nature of a good life.
It really covered a lot of ground. And I think the final takeaway is powerful. This deep dive shows that while you can analyze systems, look at structures, measure outcomes, and find real strengths, like the apparent stability in family systems promoted by Islam and Judaism, according to this AI analysis.
There's a but.
There's a but. The ultimate best path. That seems to depend so much on what you, as an individual, prioritize. Is it duty? Is it love? Forgiveness? Structure? Spiritual harmony? Freedom? It really forces you to think about your own values.
A lot to mull over there. It really encourages you, the listener, to think about your own values, what underpins your family, and how these big ideas connect to your own search for strong relationships and, well, a meaningful life.